Okay. Welcome, everyone. Lovely to see you, to be with you. So, just to remind, we will be starting with a guided meditation, and then we can engage in conversation, questions, whatever. Yeah. So. So if you can turn your attention inward. And, sit comfortably. There's nothing in particular that you need to do. You can you don't need the past. You don't need to remember anything, but to try to figure anything out. Because you already are. As a presence, which is your effortless, natural reality. Everything that appears to you appears within this effortless presence. Alive. It's simple. Sensations in your body. Appear within this effortless awareness, which you are, that which you are. And everything that appears to you is like a breeze, a sort of weather. A movement, a flow. You don't need to retain anything. Whatever is necessary is available. There is no one that you need to cater to. You are this invisible presence right now, this reality, the reality being evident. Awareness is evident to itself. It's so freeing and in a way so simple, not to define yourself in any way, not to be defined in any way. No need for any limitations. To be not knowing is what being is. Being is effortlessly not knowing. Without any separation. Conceptually, we make differences between this and that. But there are no possible differences in self, in being, in I, which is this formless awareness. Cannot be defined as a male or female. Nothing that you need to do. Because there is no separate doer in any way. The body may have a name, but you don't have a name. You are not separate from the sound of the barking dog in the distance. Because there is no distance. Everything is a reverberation of your very self. A reverberation of being. There is no happiness tomorrow, because there is no tomorrow. You don't need to seek anything, because nothing is apart from your true self. You don't need to identify with the body. You don't need to identify in any way. What for? For what benefit would you choose to identify with a mortal form? It's not necessary. In the scriptures, there is the saying, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. That I and that are not two. I and this are not two. This and that are not two. If you look directly at your experience in this moment, you will find that experientially, there is nothing apart from you. Conceptually, the oak tree is apart from you. But experientially, the oak tree is not apart from you. Conceptually, you may distinguish yourself from a thought that is appearing to you. But experientially, There is no separation between you and the thought that you perceive. Why not rely on your experience? Investigate, explore your experience rather than what concepts refer to. Experientially, tat tvam asi, thou art that. Conceptually, this is not that, and that is not this. What is your experience? Take a look. The thought that you are a person, that you're a body mind, that you're a separate entity. Appears within awareness, like raindrops appear to you, like hunger appears to you, like a memory appears to you. What appears to you doesn't define you, it's already the past. But in presence, in this moment, it's only awareness. One could say it takes on the form of this conversation right now. But the conversation is already in the past. What is it that is not in the past? That is not in time? It is that in which time appears. You are that in which time appears. And not something which appears in time or space. You don't need to worry so much about the impression of the separation. You can simply understand that it is the game of Shiva. It is an aspect of manifestation. The play of ignorance, the play of self-forgetfulness. is just the play of Shiva. Nothing is happening to you because you are that to which nothing happens, that which is non-phenomenal, the reality of all happenings. So whenever you notice that you are defining yourself as somebody, notice that this self-definition is simply an internal weather, an appearance within yourself, which is undefined, unmanifest. It's always available to you as your very self, as your very being. So if you have any questions, make sure you unmute yourself, and you're welcome to turn on your video. And also, the bottom of the screen with the reaction icon, you can also raise your hand, I believe. So any questions?
Hello, Magdi.
Yes, hello, George.
Hi there.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You suggested that I not choose to identify with a mortal form. And I have several questions related to that. First question is, can I choose? Is there real choice? Or perhaps all I can do is just recognize that I identify as a mortal form. And if there is real choice, how do I do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there is no personal choosers, we've already discussed so many times in your, if you think about that. when we say I, we're not speaking about some body which I imagine myself to be, I feel myself to be. These are just feelings and thoughts and appearances. So the I in the when we say I choose not to identify myself, as body, mind, or not to know myself to be this or that. The I that is referred to is consciousness. And this conversation right now, the understanding, there's an understanding. This understanding is not between two bodies that are 1,000 miles away. Because you are hearing right now via your audio system some sort of wavelength of vibrations, and your auditory instrument, picks up some sounds. Your eardrum vibrates. So the meaning is not in the vibration of the eardrums. Understanding, there's an understanding. Understanding is because consciousness is not separate. So it's within the same consciousness that there is understanding. This is why we often say that one of the attributes of consciousness is understanding. That's another word for consciousness is understanding. So in terms of your question, can you choose? Yes, as consciousness, yes, you can choose. And as consciousness, you can also choose not to choose. You can choose to continue to identify yourself as a particular mind, a particular body mind, and identify with a particular body mind instrument or whatever other form of identification you may choose. And can you choose? Yes, of course you can choose. You chose to ask this question. Now you could say, well, how did I choose to ask this question? You chose to ask your question out of your freedom. There was nobody that imposed this question upon you. So there is freedom, which is another attribute of consciousness. That consciousness can choose out of its freedom to investigate, not to investigate, to identify, not to identify. And the way you're understanding what I'm sharing with you right now is because you are this very consciousness that hears and perceives and understands.
So when I was before I asked this question, I had the thought, I'd like to ask this question. But I didn't choose that thought. That thought seemed to arise spontaneously. Hey, I've got a question. And then I even had some further thoughts of exactly what I was going to ask, and even further thoughts of how I was going to ask it. I wrote it down.
Yes.
But it seemed that there was no choice in any of that. The thought just came to me.
Well, where did it come to you from?
Don't know.
Well,
To say it comes to me from consciousness doesn't help. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like there's any freedom there.
Because you are confusing consciousness with something limited. You say you don't know where this thought arose to you from. First, let's say that there is a reality to this thought. So we're talking about something real. Because I like to talk about real things and not about fiction. Well, I love fiction too, but that's not what we're doing here. So we're talking about a real thought, whatever that is. Let's also agree that our conversation right now is real. There is a real aspect to our conversation, yes? Otherwise,
yeah, it seems to be.
Otherwise, let's just, no need to continue the conversation, or we could just be playing,
It seems to be. It seems to be real.
There is some reality.
There's some reality, no doubt about that.
There is some reality to this our conversation, right?
Right.
And there is a real question. We don't know where it came from. And there is reality to our conversation. And there is a one reality. Would you, I know I made a jump, but would you go along with that, or?
Yes.
One reality.
One reality.
So given that thoughts are real, our conversation is real, the thought that appeared to you is real, you posing the question is real, there is an aspect of reality to whatever you're experiencing. We can, maybe I'm making another jump, I'm not sure, but we can make the conclusion that the real thought is arising out of the real reality into the reality of this moment. So the source of the real thought can only be reality. A real thought cannot arise out of fiction. It has to arise out of reality, and it has to appear within reality. Do you agree with all of that, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't see choice in here.
Yes, yeah. Right. Well, sometimes we use the term choice as if, for example, we go to the supermarket and there are 4 different kinds of tomato sauce, 4 different companies that make 4 different tomato sauce, and you look at those 4 brands and you choose one. In other words, we refer to thought as if it's something that's occurring in time. We're looking at 4 different simultaneous brands, and we make a choice between one of these. I don't mean choice that way. I don't mean that basically consciousness is sort of looking at its portfolio of many different choices and picking choice C versus choice A or B. But the way I'm using the term choice is in this instant. I mean, in this instant, not in time, in this instant. Maybe we need a different word than choice. Maybe we could say, in this instant, this is what consciousness is manifesting, as opposed to I'm choosing. So you are right in that maybe choice is not the right word to use.
So consciousness is manifesting that
this particular thought,
yes, and
manifesting.
consciousness is manifesting that I identify as a mortal form.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So when we say consciousness is choosing ignorance, that is what is meant, is that in this moment, consciousness is manifesting itself to itself, from itself, because there's one reality, right? So therefore, it has to be manifesting from itself and to itself, and as itself, because there's only one reality.
So consciousness is now manifesting as ignorance.
If at this very moment, I am identifying myself as I'm here and you're there, I am this body that's 1,000 miles away from George's body. At this moment, consciousness is choosing to identify as a separate mortal body from George's body. Yes.
Okay. So if consciousness is manifesting that, then it seems that all I can do, all that can be done is for me to acknowledge, oh, this is what consciousness is manifesting
Absolutely.
right now.
Absolutely. Because once you understand that consciousness is manifesting, whatever it's manifesting, and that consciousness refers to reality, and that there is only one reality, and that I, whatever I is another way of speaking the word reality. I refers to reality. Once you simply understand that, you don't have to understand anything else. And whenever you don't understand that, meaning whenever consciousness manifests, oh, gee, you know, what's going on now? Who am I? Am I this? Am I that? At that moment, it is that choice, that, we're not using the word choice, that manifestation, that expression. Now, what's fascinating about this is that the more you understand what we are speaking about right now, the lesser consciousness somehow, it's just statistical data, the lesser somehow consciousness chooses to identify. The more consciousness chooses to understand what we just said about itself, because we're not talking about anything else, the less frequently consciousness will choose to identify. I cannot explain to you how come or why. I'm just saying statistically, that's what happens. And it's a statistical, it gets more and more and more, we use the term sometimes, established on less and less and less identified. Less and less often is the identification. The shorter is the duration of the identification. The less intense is the identification.
Yes, yeah, I get that. Okay, very good. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Josh.
Actually, here it's Anna. I don't know if my hand was the next in line.
Yes, okay. Hello, Anna.
Hello. What I understood of that is that consciousness is, but we have the free will to experience this this energetic content unconsciously, like they say that Jack the Ripper did, or consciously, but still in the idea of the separate self, like the butcher that uses that cutting and all that blood to make a profit. Or I can go one step further and just with the energetic around me, I can think about others and relate to others in a compassionate, loving way, as if we are not separate, like the surgeon does. So what is there is consciousness. And as long as my state in consciousness is not vibrating as high as the surgeon, is vibrating as low as Jack the Ripper, or as selfish as the butcher, I will have an outer experience of reality that is in alignment with my state of vibrational consciousness. And it will seem real, and I will be trapped there. Is that what you were talking with George? And was that the free will? Or am I totally deluded here? Basically, I am saying all there is consciousness. And yes, there is no separation, but there is the free will and the state in which I experience myself. Now, if it's a low frequency of vibration, if it is an okay, or if I am already perceiving others as one.
So on the surface of the ocean, there are parts of the ocean that are windy and wavy. Parts of the ocean where it is less wind and less waves. But all of it is just this one ocean. All of it is water. And so the fact that certain manifestation of the ocean is no waves and other manifestation of the ocean are waves, it seems that these things are occurring at different time, and they're occurring in different place. But from the perspective of reality, from the perspective of water, the reality of the waves and the reality of no waves, nothing is happening. There isn't, there isn't a low frequency and a high frequency. There is no personal frequency that's changing. It's always this. It's always this being, this presence, this reality. Now, whatever design we make in the mind about that would explain how and when and why we identify as a butcher or as a surgeon.
Oh, sorry.
Is is just a narrative which we identify with. But when you are not knowing, which is the open field of presence, the open field of awareness, not knowing is not knowing. When you are not knowing, the narratives of the mind about that would explain how consciousness functions are not significant and are not useful. The water is both water, whether it is at rest or whether it is in motion, whether it is small wavelets or whether it is huge, large waves. It is always water. And the understanding is not about how do waves appear, or how come some waves are smaller waves and other are bigger waves. The understanding is about the reality of water, the nature of water, about your nature, about your reality. Vibrational states, whatever you call them, are just like the weather. They're like the weather. And the weather seems to appear in time. But your experience experientially is always this moment. It is always not in time. It is not in time because there is no duration. There isn't the concept of duration in your experience. In order to have time and duration, you have to refer to the past. You have to refer to state, a certain experience, a certain memory. You have to refer to the mind in order to find the conceptual narrative about consciousness, about your life, about the butcher, about the surgeon. You have to go into the past, into memory, into the concepts. Not to be watchful, not to confuse the narrative, not to confuse the mind with consciousness. I am not trying to vilify the mind, or I am not anti-thought. I am not trying to diss mind. I'm pointing that the mind exists in time, and the existence of the mind in time exists in the timeless. Time appears in the timeless. And experientially, you are the timeless. Conceptually, mind-wise, there is a narrative, there is time, there are events, there are memories, there are future and past, etc. Don't hold on so tightly to your narrative. You can play with it, but notice that mind activities appear and disappear. They appear within awareness and disappear within awareness. In this moment, experientially, nothing remains. Phenomenal, nothing phenomenal remains. Only awareness, presence, being, not knowing remains.
Thank you, Margie. That is very freeing. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's very difficult not to be kidnapped in time and space and in identification with the experience. It's very freeing to be reminded of truth. Thank you.
Yes. The key thing is to be clear that I experientially, it's always experiential. I is this aware presence. Invisible, non-phenomenal, and this is the reality of I, the reality of my experience, and therefore the reality of the world, the reality of the mind. Always available as I awareness, I being, I presence. Not in time. Time appears within it. It's okay. It's okay. Time appears within it. But to be clear about that which appears and the reality that neither appears nor disappears, which is my reality. Okay. Hello, Carl. Nice to see you. You are muted, Carl.
Am I on?
Yes, I hear you now.
Perfect, perfect. It's great to be here with you all as well. And golly, I don't really quite know where to start. I mean, there's so many avenues to get to what the theme of what's being discussed here today is the theme of what's if I could call it a kind of series of events that has resulted in recent lack of peace, which has been resolved and is being resolved. You know, it's super amazing how the truth comes to you, and it's. I think what I want to speak about is the slippery slope of ignorance, which I really, really agree with your definition, or a definition that came out here, which I wrote down, and it's so fabulous because it's forgetting. And I want to, like when we forget who we are, then we become subject to the narrative, right? And the narrative can be very complex as a person being when I slip into the personal self, the peace dissolves, and the play of Maya becomes more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how. Thank goodness for the presence of and the peace of understanding, which is the liberating hallmark, one of. And when that peace disappears, then that demands inspection, to recover, because I've off-roaded, But then when the peace comes back, I understand the purpose of the off-roading. It was to bring me into a more precise understanding. and that's where I am at
Yeah.
right now.
Well, it's as if consciousness is, it's like if you're interested in playing the flute, you have to practice, and you have to make a lot of, obviously you will make mistakes, but less and less you will come more and more attuned with how to play the flute. And this is a little similar in a way. There is the moments of clarity, moments of peace, moments of all is well. And then there's a little eclipse that, oh my God, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? And am I doing it right? Do I have the right understanding? Whatever, some doubts, questions arise. We identify with the body and identify with some event is happening in our life, and that pulls us back into, the wrong note as we're playing the flute. And but as a result of our interest in learning how to play the flute, our passion for the music, then it keeps us somehow, we keep returning to the right direction. And our understanding progresses, matures. There's more and more moments of peace. Sometimes we think we did something to get to the peace, but most often, we realize it's just somehow arising out of itself. The peace is sort of manifesting because of our love for truth and our interest in truth. So life events, events that may arise in the body or in relationships are part of they're like opportunities in a way. This is where we practice. This is where we where we can see and experiment with.
Yes. Do you know when my piece collapsed, it was concerning an individual, a friend of a friend, right? And as in the openness and just in an experimental.
There is a little sound. Too.
Is it any better?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay, good.
So I missed the last couple of things you said.
Okay, so in my open investigation, which is my whole life, as I see it,
yes,
it's become that, and so I was in the right place. There was a friend of a friend who I knew needed a job, and I said to this guy, I said, if anything comes up at my job, I'll pass it along, and I felt I had the dog ear about the event, and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens, because that's how life is as I see it, more and more and more, it's just intrinsic, and so sure enough, the guy an opportunity came up. I told him, I said, good luck. I hope it happens. And he got the job, and I worked with him every day, and it's been a true struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It was it ended up with him with all of this awkwardness and strangeness to where I wondered, golly, if I could reverse time, would I still do that? And I would. But I had to ask myself that because it became such a pain in the ass, you know?
Mhm.
And so I reset all the time, reset, you know. No good deed goes unpunished. I would hear my mind tell me things like that, you know. But you know, I would keep resetting, you know. And I immediately knew this is a great teaching. This is fabulous, you know. And I would sacrifice the peace for more understanding.
Mhm.
I would sacrifice the peace for a season to have the understanding that I apparently need, you know, and that's how it's become. And I'm on the backside of it, and it's so wonderful and
Mhm.
it's so beautiful.
Yes, yes. You know, life provides us these opportunities. Somehow, you know, there's something for us to sort of learn or explore or contemplate or sort of look into. Uh, in terms of, you know, when your intention is a loving, friendly intention, that's beautiful. And then Francis often says that when our intention is coming, you know, from love, meaning it's coming from God, then the consequences, whatever consequences happen, like if things go awry, they go wrong. Well, it's the, you know, it refers back to the source. So it's God's doing. It's not like it's not a personal. So you are in a way a channel, you know, and so it's God's doing. And if there is anybody to blame, they can blame God, you know, and not. So yeah, the intention, of course. I mean, yeah, and we learn, you know. Like I also have a tendency sometimes to sort of, you know, be like very much of a helper, and I've also learned that okay, this also needs to be sometimes looked into, tempered, you know, see, because it could be a conditioned, you know, aspect of my identity, you know. Yeah, and it's in the end all is well because we have an understanding that every wrong note we are making in playing the flute is drawing our attention to figure out how to you know, make it more harmonious.
Yes. I have a second question. I hope I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, no.
And this is also relational. And um, okay, so I have a 28-year-old son. He's a professional musician. He battles with alcoholism, you know, and both his mother and I also suffered with alcoholism, and his mother is a real. She still struggles immensely, you know, and uh, and and I actually had to get paternal custody of him when he was younger and raise him myself uh, with limited interaction with her. I had to take her to the court and everything, you know. And I have love for her, and but he has a lot of deep-seated issues that stem because of the relationship that or the lack of relationship he's had with concerning his mom, right?
Mm.
And now uh he's done a round he went to alcoholic, you know, like a rehabilitation, and he's come home and he has fairly good success. He's not abstinent, but still these problems occur between when he's with his mother. And he's a man, he's 28 years old, but he's like kind of my best friend, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't know what I feel like I have a lot of things to tell her, but I want to tell her in love, you know? It's probably a matter of time until there's a huge relapse in their uh the way she treats him is just absolutely horrible. And he, even though he's 28 years old, he's still childlike concerning the mom. And I don't know what's my place other than to be love for him.
Mhm.
I feel like that she wants to get together for quote unquote family night, but we're not together. We're not married, like we've been divorced since he was a toddler. And I don't want to coddle her and support this kind of abuse when it occurs from time to time with him. Does anything come
Yes,
to you about that?
yes. First, it's important to understand that above all, our children are God's children, and that our friends, our family, our ex-family, whatever, are also God's creation. Everything is God's creation. Our thoughts, our experiences, our habits, our addictions, all of that is part of the cosmic order. And the best way to be helpful is by having your words and your actions to arise from a place of love, of um, of compassion, or non-judgmental place. And somehow to lead by example.
Is there nothing to be said in the moment of abuse?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. In the moment of abuse, there is not just things that can be said, but things that can be done also. When you perceive abuse, then it is calling you to do something, to stop the abuse, to do whatever you need to do, whatever you can do, to change the situation, to do something about the situation. Not just something you may do in the moment. You may have to be engaged.
Well, yes. I have had the notion to experiment, having been uh, ha- having done other tactics or ways of dealing through these episodes and stuff like that. Um, I became interested in looking at my disdain about the actions, not about the person.
Mhm.
The mother of my son I love, and I know that I speak from a relational perspective when I speak like that, but we have to do that, right? You know, and it's like, so we have to speak relationally, uh, because we have to function together
Yes.
to make to cohabitate.
Right.
And so as of recent, I thought of kind of boycotting the friendly pretenses. And then when it came up, I would discuss it because it wouldn't be in an episodal sense that is infused with anger and, you know, being cranked up, but rather it would facilitate a conversation about some certain things that are unacceptable for me to continue uh, a loving,
Yeah.
at least
In,
it's not about not being loving. It's about the context of our relations.
I mean, you don't have to be a nice guy in the face of some behavior that is abhorrent. No, you're speaking to that. You know, yeah. So you can make a stand. It's impersonal. That's
Yes.
it's impersonal. It's not about like me and you and you, me and her. Or it's 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 something you perceive. It's a certain behavior that's unacceptable. So you take a stand about it. Not like, as you said, not about her, but it includes her. It includes her or him or what. It includes the people involved. But it's, yes, it is impersonal, but we can act impersonally. Impersonal does not mean there is action. There is impersonal action, and it can be even tough love could be impersonal. You know, is an impersonal way of. I don't know the details, but yes, it is something that's definitely appearing to you. It's quite significant, and it's so your engagement. You know, your engagement seems to be called for, and you don't need to repeat a pattern. You don't need to maintain whatever it is that you're maintaining. It's nothing that you need to maintain. It's this consciousness to consciousness. It's not. You're not trying to relive the past or continue the past or improve onto the past. No, it's always a fresh
Yes,
moment.
the past, yeah, the past has become very boring. That's very boring to see these cycles
Yes.
over and over. It's more
Yes.
than boring than it makes my blood boil. It doesn't, maybe for a few minutes, right?
Yes.
But more than anything, the overriding analysis is completely boring, and it's terrible for him, you
Yes.
know.
Yes. So
And
how
so
do I
I want to
address,
be.
how do I address the situation that I perceive, you know, impersonally, in, out of understanding, out of compassion, out of love, and out of caring? You know, how do I address it? It's a situation that concerns me. It's my son. I'm the father. There is a relationship. So, but you know, you do your best. Yeah, and we don't know what that is. In the moment, we may know or we may not know. And if we don't know, we're still wondering, like, what is the best, you know, what is the best thing to do? We don't know. But the main thing is we do our best, and then everything else is in God's hands. In other words, we act from an impersonal place, and the consequences or what unfolds, whatever unfolds, we'll deal with what unfolds without self-judgment, without regrets. We'll make the best choice the next moment that presents itself, whatever situation presents itself to us. And the fact that you're inquiring into how to be with this situation This is a very important part of the process, which expresses your openness, your interest in inquiry, in investigating, and finding a response that that is appropriate. And so you don't want to bypass abuse if you see abuse. If you see abuse, it's you see it as abuse. This is how you see it. This is your understanding. This is your perception. It's a call for action. When the more impersonal your action, but it is action, it's impersonal, that's the right direction. When we don't know what that is, it's okay. It'll appear to us, and we'll feel drawn and called to a certain direction, to a certain expression, to a certain decision in the moment.
In that living moment. In the living moment.
Yes, absolutely. It's
unique.
always, yes, the living moment is love. Is includes everything and everyone. Yeah. It's
Eternity.
yes.
That's right.
Okay, Karen. Any questions? Okay, well, very lovely to be with you all. Joyce, good to see you, and Frank, Carl, hey John, Sabishiva,
Merci.
Mark, hi Mark, and Lynn, hello Lynn, and Holger, and my sweet Tara. Thank you all. Lovely to be with you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maggie. Take care.